Hello, BookTube. I have another tag for you today, a slightly unusual one that I found called the Where and When tag, which is designed to underscore something I love about books, which is that they fix themselves on our memories of time and place in a way that very little else does. I couldn't tell you on any trip that I've ever taken what I was wearing, and very little about what I ate, but I can often tell you what I was reading and when and how it affected me. You're just supposed to give 10 memories, and I have plenty to choose from, so I thought I'd do that today. The first one being Dante, which I read uh, in serious scholarly fashion for the first time in the old reading room of the British Museum, where you could only stay there if you could demonstrate that you were working on something, that you had a project. And I told the attendant that I was working on a translation. I wasn't. It was a lie. I just wanted to sit there in this room that Virginia Woolf made famous. And the attendant tested me by quoting a part of a verse in Italian. And I responded with the other part of the verse and then pointed out that it was from Petrarch, not Dante, and he gave me my ticket. He let me go in, so I got to sit and read. The second one, number two, is The Oldest Living Confederate Widow Tells All by Alan Gurgan. It's a great comic, tragic, historical novel that's huge, and that I read for the first time in a very hot, boring summer in small town Iowa when there was nothing else to do. And the book made that all right. It's a revisitable book. It's a cornucopia of stories, so I just loved it, and it took away any hint of boredom. Number three is Dune, Frank Herbert's masterpiece, what I consider to be the greatest science fiction novel ever written, which I read. I have a memory of reading it in a beautiful garden in Baghdad, where my host had just given me the free reign of his garden. I sat there and read Dune at a nice, slow pace, surrounded by cool, scented breezes, and there was a cat that just languidly gave me attention from time to time. This was, of course, under the Shah. Neither relaxation, nor cool scented breezes, nor reading, nor any kind of civilization is encouraged under a vicious theocracy that replaced him. But once upon a time. The next one, number four, is One Writer's Beginnings by Eudore Welty, which I read for the first time in Austin, Texas. Again, during a brutally hot summer when I was living with in an off-campus apartment with a football player, and we were sharing our apartment with an armadillo. Football player, before I got there, thought it would be a cool idea to pick up an armadillo, off the side of the road and make it a pet. Not a good idea, but they're fascinating creatures. We named him Ruby, after the man who shot JFK. And I got to know his habits fairly well. And also, I should point out, he ate part of One Writer's Beginnings. Number five is John Irving's Hotel New Hampshire, which I read during the course of long afternoon bike rides in Iowa, where the roads are long and empty and straight and gentle. And once you get on one, you can just sit back on your bike and read. You really don't have to think about anything. You don't have to think about pedaling or navigating or anything like that. And I remember, even now, after all this time, I remember thinking that when I was reading it, I remember thinking, I would like very much to eviscerate this piece of crap in front of the biggest paying audience I possibly can. I never did. Number six is The Little World of Don Camillo by Giovanni Gioresi, which I read a long, long time ago for the first time when I was crewing passage across the Bay of Bengal. And again, the book just completely transported me, which is what we want books to do, right? It's a bunch of short stories about this two-fisted Italian priest in a small town who is constantly arguing with his communist mayor and constantly fighting with his parishioners who don't want to do what he tells them, and constantly commiserating with Jesus, who speaks through the crucifix, the top of the altar in his church, and who doesn't often agree with Don Camillo. They lock horns more than anybody, and the stories are so delightful, and it is utterly alien to hot water sailing as you could get, but it worked. It worked its magic completely. Number 7 is The Diary of Samuel Peeps, which I love dearly, and which I remember reading in a tiny stone and thatch hut on the very westernmost knob of Northern Ireland, with dogs all around me. we had a wonderful time in that inhospitable little house, and the whole time I was there, I was reading Peeps, talking about he was right at the heart of London. He was right at the heart of civilization, whereas the place where I was staying and reading him might as well have been the 8th century. And I love the contrast. I love the fact that his diary worked. It pulled me right out of where I was. Number 8 is Boccaccio's Decameron. I have praised it before on this channel. I love it to distraction. And distraction was the key in the memory that I have of reading it. I was reading it in Uganda a long time ago when I was reading it to distract myself from the fact that that through a boneheaded excess of enthusiasm in trying to retrieve some piece of scrap that one of my beagles had been playing with from the undergrowth of the forest where I was, I got bitten by a snake called a gaboon viper. If I had the technical skills, I would put the picture of the little monster right up here. They're not pleasant. and unlike most people, I wasn't bitten in the ankle. I was bitten in the hand because I'd literally grabbed the thing. I can't even really criticize the snake. So I would have bitten me too. And the venom it's extremely dangerous. Don't ever get bitten by a gaboon viper. And the hand that was bitten swelled up like a balloon, just a ball with little divots where the tips of my fingers were, and it hurt like crazy. And there was nothing for it. I was far away from any kind of medical help. Unfortunately, I don't tend to need medical help. So I knew I just had to wait out the pain and the swelling, and it was just so horrible that I distracted myself with Boccaccio, who was sort of my A-bomb. And believe it or not, there were patches where it worked. Not the circumstances under which I recommend reading Boccaccio, but... and our last one for today is the Orlando Furioso of Ludovico Ariosto. I've mentioned this before on this channel. It's a gigantic Renaissance epic poem. Despite that description, it's actually wonderful. It really is. And it has a very good English translation. If you find the old Penguin Classic in 2 volumes, once you get used to it, the rhythm and the scansion of it, you will like it. I feel certain. And if not, talk to me and I'll help you. But I was reading that very 2-volume Penguin translation in the Masai Mara a long time ago, and I was reading it at night, listening to the booming of lions. I don't know if you've ever heard this. The version of it that you get at a zoo is a very pale imitation. It's a and it just rolls along the ground, and it's terrifying. You cannot tell in the dark where the lion is that's making the noise. It's always the male. The females almost never do it during the nighttime, during hunts. The male does it, and he does it specifically for that reason, to make every living thing around him scared and therefore nervous and prone to make mistakes, like bolting in the wrong direction, like right down his throat. I mean, it's extremely unnerving that you don't know where the lion is. It could be right outside the door, it could be a mile away. That sound. And I remember reading Ariosto and thinking, for all the alien stuff in his world, the meeting of Renaissance princes, the living in glittering Renaissance courts, and traveling everywhere, here's a thing that Ariosto never experienced, never even imagined. and that juxtaposition made it just magical. It was wonderful. I was again transported, and in a way, it enhanced the Orlando Furioso, even though it shouldn't. And there you go. That's the where and when book tag. Sorry for the length of the video, but I do get meandering when I talk about travel. Just some wonderful memories, and of course, I'd love to hear all of your versions of this. Where you've been, what locations are locked in your mind by books, and vice versa. But anyway, we'll talk tomorrow. Thank you, BookTube.